It is the 1st of May, which means if your team is still alive, you still have a chance on today's very jam-packed edition of Locked On NHL.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Everyone, and welcome to today's Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. I am Nick Zararis, the host of Locked On Oilers. This is my third NHL season with the Locked On Podcast Network. That's my good friend Hodies, who is the co-host of Locked On Penguins. And we want to thank everyone that is making Locked On NHL their first listen of the day. Locked On NHL is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K device. Turn any TV into an Xbox, no console needed. Head on over to amazon.com/firetvlockedon to learn more. So on today's jam-packed edition of Locked On NHL, Hunter and I are going to bounce around the 4 playoff series that have games tonight. So if you're listening to this and you're not sure who's playing tonight, I got you. We are going to start with the Battle of Ontario. Leafs Sens Game 6 tonight. We will pivot to Colorado Dallas. We'll hit Minnesota Vegas, and we'll tie a bow on the show talking about how my Oilers have seized the opportunity before them. But right before we started recording, Hunter very jokingly and derisively started laughing as he asked the question and said, "Nick, are the Leafs going to do this again?" To which I replied, no. I think the Leafs are going to win this series. I still very much believe in this group. I think the fact that their core players are all having good series so far, when you look at the counting stats, is very encouraging. I think the fact I feel pretty good about Anthony Stolarz in net for them is a stark departure from what it's been in years past for the Leafs in these playoff series. And look, the Sens are a nice story. They have one of the most lively, engaging fan bases on all of the internet. I'm happy they made the playoffs. They deserve to feel a little bit of happiness about their team. But the Leafs are a more talented team. It is simply a matter of, will they go out there and execute? And the big stat for me when I was looking through this, and I was curious to see, Ottawa has had the puck a whole lot more, but they haven't really converted a lot of those scoring chances just into shots on goal, let alone actual goals. And that's really been the difference. You know, they have a pretty good edge in terms of scoring chances, but the Leafs have advantages in high danger chances and some of the other key metrics that really tell you that Ottawa's had the puck a whole lot, but they haven't been able to convert maybe as much as you would need to for them to pull this off.
They've also been, it feels like to me, a lot more on the perimeter this series. I think the Leafs, for the most part, have done well defensively. And yes, Nick, I was kind of jokingly asking that question to you, but also at the same time, kind of not, just because they had chances in Game 4. You lose in overtime. You then have a very nervous crowd in Game 5. You have Steve Dangle turning into the Joker during his live stream out here. I don't even want to know what he's going to do if they lose Game 6 tonight, by the way. But the Leafs, this is an opportunity for them to reset. You got 2 chances to close it out. It hasn't happened. All you got to focus is this game. That's your focus. And Nick, I got to say, Willie Nylander's been great, but don't tell that to Mike Rupp. I saw the take that he had earlier this week.
He's got 6 points in 5 games. What? He doesn't punch anyone? Okay.
I don't get it. Mitch Marner has been very good.
Marner has 7 points in 5 games.
Austin Matthews has been very good. We've gone at the Leafs core 4 before when they haven't shown up as much in playoff series. You can't say that about the core 4 here. They have more than done their part. They just got to close this out one last time. It's going to be a rockin' building in Ottawa. Linus Ullmark had a really good Game 5. And Nick, we were talking about that last week when he was really struggling to start this series. He needed to have a game or two to really steal it. And he was great in Game 5. He was also good in Game 4. I think he'll want maybe that tying goal that sent it to overtime back maybe a little bit, but he was great in Game 5. He's going to have to play the same way in Game 6. If Ottawa wants to force a Game 7, though, it's going to have to be Tkachuk carrying the load again. You're going to have Batherson carry the load once again. Their star players will have to outplay the Leafs core 4. And that's going to be difficult because the Leafs core 4 have been very good in this series. But once again, man, like the Leafs, you've seen the stat, Nick, how bad they have been at closing out series these last several years. They have 1 win. It's really bad. So Sooner or later, you got to beat these allegations. You've had 2 chances so far. I know this one's on the road. I know this one's also going to be really tough because you lose this one, man. How nervous is that crowd going to be in Toronto for a Game 7? Like, that's, oh boy, you got to close this out tonight. You cannot leave this up for a winner take all Game 7 where anything can happen. They have to close this out tonight.
And one more thing on that. I was talking about this with one of my friends the other day because he had texted me during the Leafs game and he was like, isn't it really quiet on TV? And I replied to him, all of those people dropped half of their rent to be there tonight. That's why they're antsy and nervous. And
imagine what a Game 7 ticket will be and what the crowd will be like for that if Ottawa wins this game. Truly.
It's one of those real life choices you have to make. Do I want to eat this week or do I want to go to Game 5? And some people made the conscious choice that, okay, we're going to have a bowl of ice for dinner and we're going to go to the game tonight. And they sat on their hands for 2 periods and they slowly watched that game slip away from them. And that's really the conundrum you face if you're in one of these bigger markets where your tickets are really expensive. You know, I can speak firsthand. The worst stomachache I have had in my entire life, I endured during Game 5 of the 2015 Eastern Conference Finals that the Rangers lost 2-0 to Tampa Bay. The Rangers were in that game. I didn't feel good about it at any point. And, you know, as a high school student, I didn't have a lot of spending money. So putting all of my spending money into going to that game definitely gave me a bit of agita and definitely something that, though I don't regret spending the money, I probably could have done something more productive with that. We are going to pivot our conversation now to the next game in chronological order in terms of start time tonight, and that is the Stars and the Avalanche, which has been a series of big wins. There has not been a lot of tight white knuckle affairs. It has been one team gets to a lead and then they thump and thump and thump and continue padding that lead. And I think it's really interesting because those games have largely had a snowball effect where it's been very tight until one team gets a lead. And then once they get the lead, the dam kind of breaks and the team that's been playing good defense to keep it close starts to wilt. And I think it's been a very interesting series in that respect, because this was the series I was most excited about coming into the playoffs in terms of just the energy and the talent. And it's been a good series, but it's not been a bunch of white knuckle overtime games. It has largely been a series of back and forth, big shots.
I texted you this, I believe it was during Game 5. It's 2 fighters just throwing heavyweight punches at one another. Yeah. You win one round, you win another round, then you win a round. That's really what this is. And whoever wins the next one, obviously, you know, that's going to be the last one standing with trading heavyweight punches. I continue to be so impressed, though, with the way the Stars have defended in this series. Pete DeBoer has done such a good job having his players play so stingy in their own end, especially with a makeshift right side. Nick, they still don't have Miro Heiskanen back.
Nope.
And they are defending so well against Marty Necas and Cale Makar especially. I have a couple stats for you so far. Cale Makar, we both think he's probably the best defenseman on the planet. I hate just using counting stats, Nick. He has 2 points in 5 games. No goals, only 2 assists. He has not been nearly good enough for the Avalanche in this series, but that's also a testament to how good of a job the Stars are doing. Marty Necas, he was lighting everyone on fire when he got to the Avs, right? He has no goals also in this series. He has a few points, all assists, but he still hasn't scored. Nathan MacKinnon, he's been great so far. Logan O'Connor has been really good. I still want to see a little bit more from Jonathan Drouin. Devon Taves has been fine. Gabe Landeskog obviously has come back, which has been a great storyline for Colorado. But I need to see Cale Makar have a takeover game. We haven't seen that yet from him. I don't think he's banged up or anything like that. It goes to show how well the Stars are doing. And this is a Stars team that I thought was dead going into the first round, man. They were playing really poor to end the season. They lost Game 1. I'm like, whew, this is looking really bad because, you know, you looked at that series, the first 4 games, it was tied, but the Stars had barely led in any of these games. But then Game 5, they absolutely crushed the Avs in that one. It's going back to Denver now. I need to see a big game from Cale Makar tonight. I have not seen it yet. You know what you're going to get from McKinnon. He's an assassin. But I still need to see Cale Makar be a bit better. I think Blackwood, he had a really rough Game 5. I think he can bounce back, but I can't credit the Stars enough for the way they have defended against the Avs high-end talent, especially also without Jason Robertson. We don't know when he's going to be back. But if they win this series, Nick, I think that's going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess maybe a little bit of a shocker to some people, because I know a lot of people, ourselves included, had Colorado winning this series, but it'll go to show that Pete DeBoer very much knows what he's doing and is a hell of a coach. So I can't stress enough how impressed I am with how the Stars are playing. And also Jake Ottinger's been tremendous.
We are going to take our first break of today's edition of Locked On NHL. When we come back, I'll offer a few thoughts on the Avalanche Stars series before we pivot our conversation towards the later slate, Vegas, Minnesota, and Edmonton, LA. Be right back. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's really easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in as your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in just one place. So you stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on takeout. And now I budget a little bit smarter. I meal prep and save more. And most importantly, instead of managing multiple finance apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even set up long-term financial goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Thank you to everyone who is hanging out with Hunter and I on this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. And as for the Stars Avs series, it's been really important, and you mentioned it, that they finally have gotten some quality goaltending from Jake Ottinger.
Yeah.
An average regular season, I would say. This is somebody who has a track record of being a little bit better in the postseason than in the regular season.
Look at the Flames series, my friend.
Yeah, that's one of the best single series goaltending performances of recent memory. And that's been one of the deciding edges in this series. You know, you look at the Ottinger and Blackwood numbers, they're pretty close. Ottinger's at a 914, Blackwood's at a 909. Ottinger's at a 258 goals against, Blackwood's at 238, and then goal saved above expected. Blackwood's got a slight edge, 492 to 277. And then the other component of this is Dallas is winning on special teams. Yeah. Their penalty kill has been better than Colorado's penalty kill, and their power play has been better than Colorado's power play. And I think that speaks to the Cale Makar situation that you were alluding to, that he's only got 2 points in the series so far, and the Avalanche are traditionally a pretty good power play team. And some of that, of course, is a proxy of changing over so much of the roster. You think about how much of that team changed over the course of the regular season and trying to get a feel for it. So I do think if the Avs are going to swing this series around, you're going to need a good special teams performance, because that's been one of the few differentiation points. And generally speaking, when you're matching up two really good teams with each other, the 5-on-5 play is going to be close to canceling each other out for the most part. Colorado has an edge in terms of possession and the quality of the offense they're generating. But by virtue of the Stars' goaltending and the special teams, that's been enough to kind of counterbalance the advantage Colorado's had at 5-on-5. So if Colorado is going to turn this series around, they are going to need it to come in the form of their special teams. And that largely starts with Makar, who has had a hard time just getting shots on goal, frankly. Yeah. And some of that is good defense, being aggressive defensively, making him make decisions before he wants to at the point, getting in the shooting lanes and not letting those shots, those scoring chances become shots on goal. Now we will pivot to Minnesota Vegas, which has been, I would say, the most surprising series so far for me.
It's been 100 times better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I had a tweet about that over the weekend when, I mean, Minnesota has been giving Vegas everything it can handle and then some. Like, you and I both said when we were doing our picks, Nick, like, we figured this would be easy series for Vegas. Five games. Anything but that, my friend. I have to give the Wild a ton of credit. They are making Vegas more than sweat in this series. I think with Minnesota, Kaprizov has been fantastic. Everyone is getting to see more about how good Matt Boldy is. A lot more people saw how good he was during the Four Nations, Nick. he's been even better so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like, he's been fantastic. Eriksson's been great. Philip Gustafsson has been awesome in net. Like, yeah, I know that it didn't go their way in game 4. And then game 5, you have the goal called back with less than a minute and a half to go. And I know those calls are always so tough when they go against you, because it looks like, Nick, for 1 second, oh my God, like we're about to go up 3-2. And then because you're barely offside, it comes back, and then Vegas wins it very early in overtime. You feel like that's a punch to your gut, but you're back on your home rink. You're in game 6. You've played Vegas very well in this series. They have every opportunity in the world to send this back to Vegas for a winner take all game 7. And again, I'm so impressed with how Minnesota's big guns have more than matched Vegas's big guns in this series. I think to a degree, I think Boldy, Kaprizov, and Eriksson have even been better than Stone and Eichel so far. It's just that Vegas's depth, Nick, they've been a little bit better, I think, so far compared to Minnesota's. And I will say, Minnesota, they're doing a great job of defending in this series. This has been a great series to watch. Didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I can't say enough about how Minnesota has been playing.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly that I guess you could make an argument that Florida beating Tampa Bay in 5 games was probably a little shocking. I was definitely a bit surprised to see Kucherov struggle so much. But in terms of just how long a series is going and how well they're playing, you could definitely make an argument for the Blues hanging with the Jets as well as they have as well. But for me, this series has impressed me the most because Minnesota has played well enough that you can make an argument they probably should be winning this series 3 games to 1. 3 games to 2. You make an argument they probably should have won game 5. And the Ryan Hartman goal, if we don't deal with the Mickey Mouse review, they win that game. And we're having a very different conversation. But the thing that jumped out to me in looking at the numbers for that series, number one, the special teams are almost a dead heat. Vegas is killing 72% of the penalties, Minnesota 71. The power play, Vegas 28.5%, Minnesota 27.27. So relatively even on special teams. Vegas is carrying their 5-on-5 play in this series, but they're only shooting 5.8%, which has been a big reason why Minnesota's been able to hang around. And then the big reason Minnesota is in this series, Minnesota's big dogs are playing like it. Kaprizov has 9 points in 5 games.
Yep.
Boldy has 7. And Brock Faber having 0 points in this series and kind of looking a little overmatched, I think is a real testament to how well they are playing, that they can afford one of their most important players not really having a material impact. And you think about how important it is that Minnesota's finally healthy. You think about how they went from November to the second to last game of the regular season without playing a healthy lineup, without playing all of their normal 6 preferred preferential defensemen. You think about the results you're getting from Matt Boldy that you mentioned, and when you're in these series and you might be a little overmatched or a little outgunned, you need your big dogs to kind of make up that gap, because it's not realistic to expect your depth players to make up the difference. And I make no bones about it. Minnesota's stars have played better than Vegas is in this series. Hurdle's got 5 points in 5 games. Eichel only has 3. Stone only has 2. And look, points aren't a be-all, end-all. But when we're talking about closing gaps and trying to make up differences, your best player dropping 9 points in 5 games, that's a material, okay, we are making a difference here so that our depth isn't being exposed. And that's really important when you're talking about the theory of how you're going to win a series as an underdog.
Right. And the thing was, Kaprizov was probably going to be a Hart Trophy finalist if he played the whole season. He was arguably the best player in the league to start the season before he got hurt. The Wild, they were one of the best teams in the league before Kaprizov went down, before Eriksson went down. And now that they're back, you're seeing why they got out to such a good start, and they're giving Vegas everything they can handle. Another reason, Nick, why this series is so close, Philip Gustafsson has badly outperformed Adin Hill in this series. You look at the numbers so far.
8.65 for Adin Hill.
8.65 for Adin Hill. For Gustafsson, Nick, almost 920, 919 to be exact.
That's your series right there.
100%. Like, Adin Hill has not been good when you compare it to last year and even the year before, obviously, Nick, when they won the Stanley Cup. Adin Hill was tremendous. This year, though, anything but, he's below average. And that's another reason why this series is so close. So I'm excited to see if Minnesota can send this back for Game 7. I've just been really impressed with a lot of their young talent and the way that they've really grown into this series.
And I didn't mention Ullmark's save percentage is like 880 something in this series. To be in a playoff series with a 3-2 lead with a goalie with an 865 save percentage is nothing short of remarkable.
Yep.
Like when you really think about it, it's kind of insane. Vegas is winning this series with the goaltending they've gotten. If they get even passable goaltending from Adin Hill or slightly better shooting luck, this series is probably over already. But by virtue of Minnesota Stars playing as well as they have, they've been able to make Vegas uncomfortable in this series. They've hit some counter punches. You think about how game 4 went. You think about how game 3 went, where Minnesota Star players made some things happen. And that's what you need. Hunter and I are going to take our second and final break of today's show. When we come back, we're going to talk about how the Oilers are on the precipice of beating the Kings for the 4th straight year in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. On today's edition of Locked On NHL, be right back. Did you know your Fire TV also doubles as an Xbox? You can turn any TV into a gaming and entertainment hub with a Fire TV Stick 4K device, no console required. Grab a paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play account included, and you're ready to go. You can dive into 100 premium titles like NCAA 25, which was my most played game of 2024, the most recent Call of Duty, as easily as you can stream your favorite shows. If you didn't need to bring a console with you and all you needed was a controller, why wouldn't you get in on the action? Or if you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is easier to travel with, allowing you to take you or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Or if you've always been on the fence about certain titles, fire up an Amazon TV Stick 4K device and you can get a low pressure way to try a game out. Or if you're simple and you just want access to your streaming apps, Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, Max, and so many more, the Fire TV Stick 4K device has you covered. Head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Thank you to everyone who is hanging out with Hunter and I on this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL, the first day of May. And this is where you start to get hair on your chest if you're in the playoffs. This is where you start to separate man from mouse, the way Fitz likes to say. Because if you're on that Kings team right now, you are looking around and you are shaking your head and you're saying, I can't believe we're doing this again. This is Charlie Brown in the football. That at this point, since Game 2 ended,
like to torture their own. Do the Kings, like to torture their own fan base? Because that's what I feel like this is where it is, man. The Kings have been the better team for a large portion of this series. They're up 2-0. They go to Game 3. You have the lead in the third period. They tie it. You challenge it. You lose it. It was a really dumb challenge. They win the game right after 10 seconds into the power play. Game 4, Nick, you are seconds away from going up 3-1. You have badly outplayed the Oilers for the majority of that game outside of the third period. And then Quentin Byfield makes a young mistake. They tie it, and then Edmonton absolutely dominates the overtime and then gets the goal. And then Edmonton absolutely crushes LA in Game 5. And it feels like right now that's almost the series. Like, this was LA's best shot. They were badly outplaying the Oilers for the majority of this series. But when it comes down to it, one team has Connor and Leon, the other one doesn't. And I took the Oilers because of that. Like, Evan Bouchard has also been really good, by the way, in this series. He was especially outstanding in Game 4. But this series to me is Connor and Leon against the world. And you're seeing that on display.
So I have a bunch of information for you. Number one, through the first 2 games, it felt like the Oilers were screwed. They could get nothing going. Their penalty kill was at 40-something% through the first 2 games. They were just giving up a power play goal every single time the Kings went on the power play. That 5-man unit in particular, the 5-forward unit, that the Kings have run, has given the Oilers all types of fits. And as the series has gone along, the Oilers have kind of evened it out to some degree. But the turning point in this series was the midway point of Game 4. Friedman tweeted it after the Oilers won in overtime, but from the start of the third period to the end of overtime, the Oilers outshot the Kings 34-12. Then they had the result in Game 5 where they just dummied them.
Yeah.
And the thing that was encouraging to me about Game 5 was after one period, the shots on goal were 16-4, 17-4, something like that, but it was 0-0. The Oilers hadn't gotten rewarded. It hadn't broke through. And I was a little worried that in the course of that game, that if they didn't eventually break through, frustration was going to set in. They were going to get away from what was working, and it was going to put them in a disadvantageous position. But they stuck with it. And for the last 5 periods of this series now, the Oilers have outright dominated at 5-on-5. It has not just been Connor Leon and Evan Bouchard. Evander Kane has made his presence felt in this series. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has chipped in. Matthias Janmark getting his second goal of the playoffs. He had 2 the entire regular season, and he's got 2 in 5 games in this series so far. And then the other component to this, they've gotten actual minutes out of John Klingberg, which is insane. Like, the Oilers won his minutes 18-4 in scoring chances in Game 5. And some of that was just a byproduct of the game going downhill, that they were dominating and the workload wasn't that heavy. But my big concern, and I wrote this down, and this was really the big talking point on Locked On Oilers for much of the week going into Game 5, I wanted to see if the Oilers could keep building and making incremental progress in this series, because you got to remember, the majority of this team's best players didn't play in April. McDavid missed a couple games. McDavid missed 5 out of 7. Draisaitl missed 6 out of 7. Wallman didn't play 7 games. Hyman missed 5. Skinner, who's since been pulled in this series, didn't play 6 of the last 8 regular season games. So they needed a game just to shake the rust off. And after Game 2, they kind of got their game going. And the question I had after Game 3 was, is this the Oilers' kitchen sink? You know, is this we just had to pull one out and we found a way, but we're going to be overmatched and we're going to struggle? And for the first period of Game 4, it felt that way. Oh God, the Oilers are really in trouble here. And then the second period,
too, but yeah,
I was getting there. And then the second period goes by, and I was really anxious at that point. I was telling myself they're screwed. They have no chance. They can't do this. They're just going to keep waiting for Connor Leon and Bouch to play 12 of the final 20 minutes and hope they can break the Kings down. And then they locked in. You know, they leaned forward in their chair, and it has been an entirely different team since the start of the third period in Game 4. And now if you're the Oilers, you have Game 6 on home ice. You need to withstand what is going to be a Kings kitchen sink game. This will be the game where the Kings are going to have to pull out all the stops. And it's not like the Kings have played terribly bad. It's just that the Oilers have imposed their will over the last 5 periods. They have won almost every 50-50 puck, anecdotally. They have forechecked extremely well. They have put so much pressure on the Kings, and now all of the pressure in this series is on the Kings.
100%. And I mean, I tweeted this after Game 5. Every LA player owed Darcy Kemper a steak dinner for the way that he played. He was making save after save after save, keeping his team in the game, but he wasn't getting any help. Edmonton was not allowing LA to forecheck at all in the offensive zone. It was a great job by Edmonton defensively. And, you know, Cal Pecker, to his credit, he also played really well in that game. I think he's probably going to be the starter going forward. I don't think they're going to go back to Skinner unless they really have to at this point. But if you're the Kings right now, it's just like, here we go again. We're up 2-0. We're dominating this series. We let one slip away in Game 3. Okay, whatever. We're up 2 goals heading into the third period of Game 4. We're seconds away from going up 3-1. But playing prevent defense that entire period screwed them. I don't know why they decided to do that. They basically spent no time in the offensive zone that entire third period in Game 4. And if you're LA, it's like you can't play prevent when Connor and Leon are coming at you every couple of minutes. Like, I just really do not understand the strategy there for the Kings. And now they're up against it. Like, they're going to need all of their big dogs to somehow outperform Connor and Leon, who have been once again tremendous in this series. So still looking forward to watching that game. Real quickly here, though, Nick, with some rapid fire stuff. I am stunned that the Panthers beat the Lightning in 5 games. You and I both picked the Lightning to win this in 7. I was a bit concerned about how healthy Florida was going to be. I was a bit concerned with the way the Cats were playing heading into the playoffs. Well, they told me to shut the hell up because they went right back to what they did last year, and they suffocated the Lightning that entire series. Textbook play defensively. Their big dogs were better than Tampa's big dogs outside of Jake. Jake was tremendous once again for the Lightning, but Kucherov was not good in this series. I was going to say JV. That's probably going to sound a little too harsh, but he was not good. For someone who is a world-class player, it's going to go down as one of the best players of this generation. I couldn't believe how much of a non-factor he was. Braden Point didn't think he was that good in this series. And you know what, Nick? They made Andrei Vasilevsky look human. He had one of the best seasons of his career this year, and the Panthers made him look mortal in this one. As of right now, I know Washington just advanced and they're going to play Carolina. I'm really looking forward to that series because I think Carolina has what it takes to beat them if they can get average goaltending at least. So as of right now, I think the Panthers are the team to beat in the East. They're fully healthy. Bobrovsky is playing tremendous. They don't give you anything defensively. Paul Maurice has turned this team into an absolute juggernaut these last few years. And unless they just get too gassed, I don't see anyone in this conference beating them. I'm so excited to see Washington, Carolina. I'm not going to make a prediction yet, but I think Carolina has what it takes to win this series. I think if Stankoven continues to play well, I think if Aho and Svechnikov continue to have another really good series after how well they played against New Jersey, I think they can do this. They just have to see if they can get Freddie Anderson back in time. That's also a big one. I thought Montreal gave Washington as good of a fight as
their power play was great in this series. Yeah. They were at 33%. They had the best power play in the playoffs through the first round.
The problem was Montreal just couldn't play 5-on-5 against them. Washington really dictated terms at 5-on-5. Montreal really struggled to generate in those 5 games, but they still made it really difficult for Washington.
Yeah,
that series.
Good series. A good showing for Montreal. They were competitive. They were in a lot of those games, multiple overtime games. And if you're overmatched and overgunned, that's a sign you're making a good effort. If you're dragging games to overtime or to the final 5 minutes of regulation and you're outgunned, that's a good sign going forward. Now Montreal has a little more actionable information about the guys they have. They know some of their deficiencies. They know what they need to add, what they need to improve on going forward. And that's your goal. You know, if you can't win a playoff series, you at least got some actionable information and you learn something about a group that has decisions to make going forward. That will do it for today's edition of Locked On NHL. If you could be so kind, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts or over on YouTube. Be sure to check out Locked On NHL Game Night after the final game of the night goes final. If your team is still alive, best of luck. Everyone, enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs.